I often get asked, so what is the use of this storytelling? Why would you do business storytelling? Well, I guess one of the really important areas is actually around strategy. Companies spend an enormous amount of effort, building their strategies, crafting them. But here's the thing, it's kind of like the dirty little secret of organisations. If you ask people what the strategy is, they don't know. There's some great studies. There was a study of 300,000 people responding to a survey on whether the strategy was known in their organisation, and 54% of them said they had no idea. So I don't know if you've noticed, but certainly at the moment there seems to be everyone talking about storytelling, and what's the story of your product? What's the story of your organisation? What's our story? Well, I hear this and I ask myself the question, so what do we mean by this term story? Because when I hear it, I'm looking for a very specific thing, yet when I hear people talk about it, they often go on and on about story and not tell any stories, right? To me, that's the indicator that they don't quite get it. They don't quite understand what we're doing, because the reality is you don't get the fabulous benefits of storytelling unless you're actually telling a story. So I often get asked, what are some of my best tips for business storytelling? And I reckon that probably at the top of my list is around developing the habit of storytelling, right? So you want to just have it as part of your normal way of conversation, that when you make a point, you actually have an example, that you give a story, a little anecdote that backs up it. And so to build a habit, they say there's 3 things that are important to build a habit. First, they say that there needs to be a trigger. Secondly, there is the action, which is telling the story. And third is a reward. So you might be thinking, how do I get started, in your business storytelling practice? And I find the best way is to start small and build up. It's kind of like a leveling up. Imagine you're going through the different levels and increasing the difficulty as you go along. I would start first of all by just getting into that habit of spotting stories out in your business, seeing where the stories are told, where the big stories are being told. I find sales calls have a lot of stories. I find, where people sit down and eat, there's lots of stories. Where there's a little bit of conflict or innovation in your business, there's stories. Start to walk around your business and talking to people and listening and jotting down the stories.